Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all safe and well, and welcome to the DCU National Centre for Family Business webinar, Business Continuity for Family Business in Ireland. This webinar is being recorded. Your mic has been muted and your camera has been switched off. My name is Ellen Drum. I'm the General Manager of the NCFB and I will be your host this afternoon. Today we are joined by Dr. Eric Clinton, Ireland's foremost academic expert on family business. Eric earned his PhD in entrepreneurship in family business from the Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School at UCD. Eric also holds a Master of Business Studies and Bachelor of Business Studies. As an Associate Professor in Entrepreneurship here in DCU, he teaches undergraduates and executive students in entrepreneurship, innovation and family business. He is an award-winning teacher and international speaker and has delivered a keynote address at the post-Davos conference on preparing the millennial generation for leadership. His research focuses on strategic entrepreneurial practice in family business, particularly how entrepreneurial and innovative mindsets within family businesses pass through the generations. Eric is also Director of the NCFB, and he leads the Centre's research, education and engagements with family businesses across the country and internationally. Today, Eric will provide us with an overview of ownership, family and boards and why they are essential for family business continuity across the generations. If you have any questions for Eric, please put them in the chat box. All the questions will be anonymous and will be sent directly to the panelists. Eric, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're keeping well. I'm just going to share some slides with you. I deliberately titled this presentation, Family Business Continuity. And as you sit there, maybe you're having your kind of midday coffee or cup of tea or whatever it might be. Big challenge for everybody watching this call is continuity in the family business. And I'm going to give you some insights from what we have done here in DCU with engaging with family business right across the island of Ireland here, but also family business abroad. You're there from France, Italy, Spain, and some other family businesses, for example, in Latin America. Big challenge for you guys is continuity. And I'm going to talk to you about, survival rates in family firms. I'm going to talk to you about the different stakeholders in your family business and who they are, where they are, and what their motivations might be. So, in this 20-25 minute presentation, I'm going to give you some food for thought. I'm mindful that some of you have never been to our events before, and some of you have been to our events, and some of you might even see yourselves on the screen here today. We're a national centre for family business, supporting Irish family business, as I said, right across this country. We were established in 2013, and I suppose our brief is to, yes, we give insights and guidance on business, but we largely look at the family. So it's understanding conversations about succession planning, inheritance, taxation, next generation involvement. Like, for example, I'll speak about in a second, next generation members, the questions they have. Do I get involved in my family business straight after university? Do I work outside the family business? Do I get a mentor in the family business? So you can imagine the complexities in a family business are very different to those in a non-family business. Just to get us started, I'm going to throw a poll out there. I just want to see what generation is your family business. So we get some insights, where are you in Ireland, I suppose. So what generation is your family business? Are you first generation, second, third, or maybe some of you are fourth generation and above. So what generation is your family business? Give it a couple of seconds, allow people to vote. So what generation is your family business? The results of this will be helpful because I'll show some statistics. So Keith, you might just give us some of the results. Okay, so you can see there, 60% of you are second generation, first generation, 33%, and we have 7% of fourth generation and above. So interesting results on that. Okay. What I do, and just a little bit about me, in the university here in DCU, I work with people exactly like this. People you see sitting on this couch, these are the next generation, often the millennial generation, for example, with Generation X, Y, with regard to the questions I have. What do I do? I'm very passionate about my family business. I love my parents or my guardians very much. And the questions they have is, for example, succession planning. What is it? When does it happen? When do I have the conversation with my father? Is there a guidance I can get? Is there mentoring I can get in the context of family business? So where do these people, though, where do they fit? These people you saw on the couch earlier on, these are in this conversation. So even as we look at this is your atypical, can be Irish, it can be anywhere across Europe. This is your atypical Irish family business. You see the two boys, like what we have, students here in DCU. You see their father, second from the left on the couch, and you see their very much loved grandfather in the family business. So you can see the big challenge for this family business is continuity. Now, one of the things I get you to think about is, how many family businesses do we have here in Ireland? And you're like, wow, because you think about the town, you think about the village you come from. Walk down your village, walk down your town, look left, look right, hotels, bars, car dealerships, construction companies. The vast majority will be family business. We worked with the Central Statistics Office. 64% of our firms are family firms. That doesn't include farms. When we put our family farms into it, that statistic creeps up to nearly 80% of our society. So you can see they very much are economic and social bedrock. And some of them here you see, Flavins, Colour Trend, McGee, Centra, NTR, Glandor, many household multi-generational family firms. Right. These are some of the ones at an international level. And some people go, wow, I never knew that was a family business. Bacardi, Levi, Marriott, New York Times. 35% of the Fortune 500 are family firms. So, our question, our challenge is, how do we get our domestic Indigenous Irish businesses to this stage? How do we get them to IPO and be, national and very much international players in the field? This is a fantastic quote. Colleague and very good friend, Tom Roach, chairman of NTR. Fantastic quote. And I'll read it out to you. The hard issues are often the soft issues. And any of you who come from a family business, I think you'll empathize with this. The easy thing is to put a strategic plan in place. I jest, but it's numbers, and you put the numbers in place. The easier thing is to do is you go to your accountant and you want to get advice on taxation planning. You go to your lawyer and you want to get advice on legal issues. The really hard thing in a family business are these soft issues, because you're talking about emotions. You're talking about, love. You're talking about potentially trust, the breakdown of trust. You're talking about, the family bond, the values we have. And then you got in-laws coming into the family business. Do they know our values? Do they respect our values? And everything in between. So this is why understanding the soft issues and managing the soft issues in a family business are equally as important as managing the hard issues. So you may have seen these statistics, but national and international, and it doesn't really matter what part of the world you travel to. These numbers have been tested multiple times in multiple generation family firms. So what do we know? Maybe you're sitting there, this could be an image of yourself and your father, or yourself and your son in a family business. First and second generation family firms, 30% of you will survive. 70% are going to fail. You're like, wow, how is that? And the largely thing, and for us is the disappointing thing, often it's not a rational thing. It's not a Brexit situation. It's not a drop in demand for the product. It can often be, for example, conflict in the family business, or relationships, or poor, conversations about innovation, or poor conversations about ownership in a family business. We look at the family business I spoke about, this family sitting on the couch here. Second to third generation, what percentage here in Ireland is surviving? 13% surviving. You're like, wow, 87% are failing. Third to fourth, your atypical, Irish or European family business, 3% survive. So some of you in the call earlier on in the poll said, we're in that 4+ generations. Congratulations to you. It's a really difficult thing. And what has happened is the family business of Ireland have come to the university, that they're very much aware of these statistics, going, what can we do? This number is, is staggeringly low. How can we improve our prosperity of continuity in the family business? What we're doing as a centre, and obviously COVID has affected everybody in our communities, both my family and your family. What we're doing, and I know some of you on the call here today have been involved in research we've done on survival and understanding resilience in family firms, both here in the Republic, but also in the North, a whole Ireland study on family firms. Some of the findings, and we're going to do a particular piece in January and February on this, just under 80% of firms experience a negative impact on company sales, and loss of revenue. Almost 96% are concerned about loss of revenue over the next 6 months. I have up operation transformation, and I suspect many of you like me have watched this program from time to time. The DCU colleague and professor here, Noel Moynoff, is on it, and they do this kind of life check on you. And you would have seen our former Taoiseach now, Taoiseach, did this, and they said, listen, Taoiseach, your life expectancy is this. So you can imagine you go to this operation transformation, you're sitting in front of the medic, and good afternoon, how are you? Yeah, tell us about your lifestyle. How's the diet? Not great. Kind of partial to a few takeaways a couple of times a week. Smoke? Yeah, I'm a 40 major a day, man. Partial to a drink, kind of 4 or 5 pints on the way home in the evening. Yeah. So you can imagine the answer this guy or girl is going to get. Life expectancy, not great. It's the exact same thing with a family business. If you come to me in the university, any of the students, both current or next generation members, tell us about your family business. And I would encourage you to think about your family business in the same logic. Now, I don't mean McDonald's, major, and a pint of Guinness. I want you to think about the 3 circles in your family business. What we're doing, and I'm going to talk about it in a few minutes, are programs which will help you to understand and manage the 3 fundamental circles in my family business, but also in your family business. So understanding the family, understanding the owners, and understanding the business itself. Now, some of the things I'm going to talk to you in a few minutes are, in the family, a lot of families like, Eric, heard about this thing, was that maybe one of your road shows? I heard one of your webinars. Family constitution, what is it? What makes it different to a shareholders agreement? How do I start it? Can you give me a template? All of this kind of good stuff. Ownership, what's a shareholders agreement? What's an owner's council? How do we put that in place? What's the difference between an owner's council and a family council? Are they the same thing? Are they one and the same, or family assembly? And a lot of families go, sure, that's for family firms that employ 6, 7, 8,000 people. Not at all. If you're sitting listening to this call and you're a family business employee 25, 30, 50, 60, what you're a typical Irish SME, you have to know and be aware of the family, the ownership, and the business. If I talk about the business one, and I'm going to go into it in a few minutes, but a lot of family businesses, you ask them, do you have a board? Now, some families don't need a board. And you're like, that's fine. You don't need a board. It's not for you. A lot of families go, yeah, very proud, Eric, we have a board. But you go a level, you peel the onion back. You realize that the board is, the family sit around a table at a dinner, it gets often functional, but very quickly gets dysfunctional. And you're like, yeah, we have a board, but we're very much day-to-day. We're very much operational. Do you have any higher strategic? Do you have board charter? Do you have board agendas? Do you have, independent directors? Nah. Why? Because, they wouldn't understand who we are. They don't respect our values. All of that kind of very much old mindset in a family business is we're seeing change in it. So you see, for example, a lot of you may have independent directors, but even still, the question is, how do we attract them? How do we retain them? And then even some boards, people maybe have independent directors, but you're not getting the full bang for your buck as such with regard to the independent director in the family business. I want to start talking about numbers. And if you've done this before, maybe you've seen me or you've been in some of the programs we have in DCU, I want you to think about what your number is today. But the sure thing about our families they're going to grow. Things are going to happen and things are going to change. So think about your family business, not today, if you haven't done this before. If you've done this before, think about it today, but also think about it in 10 years' time. So 10 years' time, the guy who's maybe doing his leaving cert now at 18 years, he's going to be 28. So he's going to potentially interested in joining the family business. What's ownership in the family business? Dad talks about a board. How do I get onto the board? Other things then, for example, you're definitely going to have marriages are going to happen. New children are going to come into the family business. You're going to have divorce. You're going to have prenuptial agreements. You're going to have, maybe adopted children. There is definitely going to be change in the family business. So the ability to put the structures in place that allow the family business to continue on and to allow you give you sleep at night is really important. Let's take a look at some of the 3 circles. John Ward did fantastic research on this. John Ward, Kellogg School in Northwestern, fantastic academic, looked at the 3 circles in every family business. So it's irrespective if you're in hotels, if you're a coffee shop, car dealerships, construction, biopharma, whatever it might be. You have 3 circles. And as you look at this, try and figure out what number you are. Are you a 1 through a 7? So 7 numbers, and everybody on this call has a number. But it's not just understanding your number. You go, yeah, great, I'm a 3, perfect. But you got to understand what makes a 3 different to a 4, or 4 different to a 5, and why might there be conflict between a 5 and a 1. And if you start to do this, you can do this in a napkin, you can do this in a coaster. This is real, very straightforward stuff. But it's only when we start to explore this and we go, yeah, this is the family business now, this is it in 10 years' time. We go, okay, now I can see an issue happening. I haven't thought about succession planning, haven't thought about next generation. And not just next generation, we're moving from a founder to a sibling partnership, or moving from a sibling partnership to, cousins are getting involved. So rather than it being 10 shareholders, we now go to 30 shareholders. Or rather than it being 2 shareholders, husband and wife, we now go to 4 shareholders. So let me give you some of the stakeholders in it. Number 3, this is an employee in a family business. You go, why would he or she, what do they want? Well, one of the things you would have heard us spoke about or speak about prior was a lot of people, a big challenge for every business, and family or non-family, is attracting and retaining talent. Attracting and retaining really bright people. Now, a lot of people go, family business, often you get this altruistic type tendency. Yeah, son, daughter, Clinton, surname. Yeah, there you are, chief of marketing. Great, brilliant, on you go. But you can imagine the guy who's, worked for this family business 10 years going, this is crazy stuff. There's a glass ceiling in this business. I will never make above that glass ceiling. My name's not Clinton, or whatever it might be. So it's understanding the needs, the wants of the staff. How do we attract and how do we retain them? Number 2 then is a very different person in the context of the family business. This is, for example, often they say it's the CEO, the chief emotional officer. And this example I give you here is maybe it's the mother. And what does the mother want? The mother in a family business wants harmony. She wants to keep the father and son, united. She wants to keep the siblings, loving and united and happy, and Christmas dinner and all that kind of good stuff happening. So her motivations about, she's not involved in the business. She doesn't have an ownership, but she's very much part of the family, and she's educating the next generation. So she's an intrinsic part of the family, because you talk about values, and a lot of you go, what makes us unique is our values. Oh yeah, white people buy our product as our values, or we're going to go international to the US or Canada or Hong Kong or Singapore, and go, yeah, they really like who we are and what we stand for. This person on the left-hand side is a massive part of that. So to leave her out, or him or her out of the business, is totally wrong. Next person is the owners. Some of you, the vast majority of it, if we did a poll here, I'd suspect 100% owned, family owned. But there will be a situation potentially into the future where you're going to bring outside owners into the family business. And their motivations are predominantly growth, profitability, market share, internationalization. They don't really care about the family. Of course they do, but they're potentially money driven, or, giving back to community, whatever it might be. But their values or their motivations in a family business, you could see how they could be starkly different to this lady in the bottom of number 2. This is an interesting one. Get this a lot of time in university. I've picked an example here. Say this lady in the center wants to be a doctor. And mom and dad love you to bits. But she's come to the university and said, Eric, any advice? Dad is coming near retirement. I really want to be a teacher or a doctor or a nurse, whatever it might be. But obviously dad wants me to retain ownership in the business, because we're a very proud family business. We want to continue the legacy of the family also, but also the strategic orientation of the family as we can influence the strategy. Right, okay. And then she asked, well, what does ownership mean? Do I get A shares or B shares? Do I get phantom shares? What does that mean? And, I'm going to maybe run it with my siblings. How often do we meet as siblings to make big decisions? And, do we have a decision-making matrix? And what I mean by that is, and this is where a lot of families get sometimes confused, going, who makes the decision? Is that a leadership team if you have, for example, an executive team? Is that a board decision if you have a board? Or is that an owner's decision? Or is it one and the same? And if it's one and the same, it's a bit of a mess, and I'm not really sure where this decision's being made. So understanding the different players, for example, for this lady, is really important. What type of information should she get? Should she be a director in the business if she's going to sit in a board capacity? And then if she is, should she be qualified? Should she do a 1 day, a 2 day, a week course with the Institute of Directors, whatever it might be? This gentleman here, number 5, what makes him a bit different? This is a man or woman who works in the business and has ownership in the business. So again, kind of similar to number 1, her interests or concerns, or his interests or concerns are, what's the board structure? What's the ownership? Do the family have a shareholders agreement in place? Because if they don't, it's a bit messy here. So understanding and having the structures allow you, if you want, to attract these people. You know, a lot of family businesses now are going, listen, we have a fantastic CFO, brilliant guy, been with us for 20 years. We're going to give him some equity in the business. You're like, right, great. But that's not enough. You're bringing him to a higher level or a higher kind of status as such in the family business. So you need to have your other side of the house in order before you start to bring this guy into the situation. Number 6. Okay, I want to give you a scenario here. I've worked with family here in the country, 2 siblings exactly like this. Fantastic, bright people, very innovative, very creative, lots of desire, lots of ambition for the business. So why are they 6? They're family. They work in the business. So they blood, sweat, and tears into the business. Fantastic resource to the business. Problem, and I don't mean this as a negative issue, negative as such, is dad still has the ownership of the business. These kids are in their 30s. Dad hasn't passed on any ownership yet. So these kind of feel, I'm very much restricted strategically. We've got great ideas. We've got seen massive opportunities because of Brexit. They think Brexit is a positive for them, which it is. But we don't have an ownership structure. We don't have ownership conversations. Dad is as stubborn as hell. And I'm really frustrated to the extent the female in this situation is very close to leaving this business. So you can see how that's the challenge. Number 7, this could be some of you listening to this call today. This is an amazing, amazing position. Imagine the opportunity that you get to be the CEO, managing director of your business, where you're working with your family. Great, I'm seeing your kids flourish, and you're seeing your grandkids coming into the business, and you can support the local GAA team, and you're maybe heavily involved in the church, and you're like, wow, what a legacy to leave in this community where I'm from. An amazing, amazing thing. But you have the challenge as such of balancing 3 overlapping circles, and their motivations can differ. So the family versus the owners versus the business. Equally, it can be a very lonely place to be in a family business context. So there's a little flavor, folks, to some of the stakeholders in your family business, but also I'd encourage you to think about now as you're, whatever it might be, 12 on a Tuesday afternoon. Don't just think about your business today. Think about what's going to look like in 10 years' time or 15 years, whatever you decide to do. Down here at number 6, Eric's not just going to be 2, there's going to be 4 of them there. What structures do they have? Do they have a family employment policy? Nah. Do you have a shares agreement? Nah. Do you have a good board? Not really. So you talk about operation transformation, you talk about McDonald's 20 major and a few pints. This is almost setting yourself up for failure in that regard. So what we're trying to do, and what Ellen's going to speak to you about in a few minutes, is we've deliberately put executive education programs looking at best practice internationally to see how do we ensure the continuity of our multi-generational Irish family farms. I hope that was helpful for you, and obviously any questions you have, I'm very happy to take them.
Eric, thanks for your insights today. I think COVID-19 has definitely put everybody in this country open to operation transformation.
Yeah.
At this moment, we would like to take the opportunity just to do another quick poll. We would be grateful if you would answer the question that will now appear on screen. Okay, thank you for taking part in that poll. We do appreciate it. Eric, we've actually received some questions for you. So I'm just going to go through them with you if that's okay. What are the reasons why family businesses struggle with continuity between the first and the second generation?
Yeah, the biggest hurdle is the first and second generation. Because if you can imagine your atypical scenario, whether it's in Irish, French, Spanish, it doesn't really matter, family business. Often founder, potentially his or her wife or partner might be involved in the business, and the kids get involved. Great, very cohesive, and it's often a loving environment. But very quickly then you see the cracks start to happen. And I'm portraying this as a very much a negative, and it's not always a negative. Family business, I think, is really important. I have a fantastic resource. The blood, sweat, and tears I mentioned earlier on, the kind of survivability capital, the tough times. It's our family business. The pride I have, and I'm going to work hard for this business. You know, they've got resource. You talk about knowledge. You talk about some of the businesses we have in this country, whiskey making, whatever. Like long history of knowledge in a family business. But where do the cracks start to show? The cracks start to show then as you get potentially, if it's moving from a founder to a sibling partnership, and you get multiple siblings in a family business. And sometimes you put practices in place which are not the best practices for the family business. And often you might have heard me speak about in the past, this family first family business versus a business first family business. And happy to talk about that in further detail. But maybe it's an altruistic tendency that, every family member gets a job in the business, which works out for a couple of years, but very quickly can get toxic. And families start to turn on each other, and it becomes you really don't want to go to work. It's like, this is not a great culture here. Then the non-family are like, the family are really at each other. So a lot of time, Ellen, it's the family have focused on the business, and the business is thriving, but they, in tandem to that, haven't put the structures in place which allow you have a far greater probability of succeeding to the next generation. Structures, for example, about shareholders agreement, family constitution, but not just like the easiest thing. And sorry to go on with this question, but this is something I'm very passionate about. Is this question again, Eric? Can you give me a template for a shareholders agreement? Get this all the time. I must get this email 5 times a week, and from the students, they all want this question. Even if you're sitting and you want to shoot me a mail, please don't. The reason I say that is, and I genuinely say this, the worst thing you can do is, or even it's a family constitution, is get name, Friday, home, kids, sign that, done, sure, this is what we're doing, grand. It's not worth a piece of paper it's written. Genuinely zero value to your family business. That process, that evolution of having the conversation about what do we want as a family employment policy? What do we want if, for example, if I pass away tomorrow, does it go to my spouse? If my kids, do I want a spouse? Or is it only bloodline? So and that's only one example. There's lots and lots of questions that need to happen. But they're questions, and it's a conversation. It's not a father or mother dictating to the siblings. So long to answer your question, Ellen, so hopefully that gives you some insight.
Eric, you mentioned in your presentation about how important a board is. What are the actual benefits of a board for a family business?
I was with a family on Monday, and they say, listen, they kept us from fighting. They basically kept us from killing each other. I kind of somewhat jest there, but I think a board is phenomenally important. It brings structure, it brings discipline. And as I said earlier on, I would encourage you to think about your board, and maybe you're sitting having your coffee now. Think about your board. Is it very operational? Yeah, it is, Eric. It's fairly operational. We look at, obviously you're going to have a dashboard now and look at prior performance versus future expectation. But I do absolutely, that's critical at our core. But, a challenge, I think, do you have a decision-making matrix? Do you have a board charter as you're plotting out the future months, quarters, whatever, how often you meet as a board? So having a board is one thing, but having a very much world-class board, and people get this misconception. World-class board, Eric, that's Fortune 500. No, I don't mean like that. I'm talking about a world-class SME board, which is absolutely applicable to every family business in this call. And I think it's about having that knowledge about what works, what doesn't work. Even an independent director, there's a whole conversation. We could have a whole webinar on that as to who are they, where are they? Do we get someone who's involved in the industry or not involved in the industry? And it shouldn't be just, this chairman knows this guy, but you got to look at does the business have a particular strategic need? Maybe it's internationalization. COVID has given us this thing with the need for digital. Maybe it's someone who has a digital expertise. And then, other things we talk about are board subcommittees and things like that. So boards is a whole big topic in the family business context.
Thank you. You mentioned in your answer to our first question about how deciding ownership and that you could go bloodline or not bloodline or whatever. So what are actually the unique ownership structures in family businesses when you compare it to another company or firm?
Yeah, so that's a big one. It sounds very, again, not as often as can you give me a template for a shareholders agreement, but I do get asked a lot about prenuptial agreements. Prenuptial agreements are, there's a huge debate. Do they stand up in Irish law? again, we could have a whole webinar to tell you more about that. But so, yeah, I think, like, for example, voting options, A shares, B shares, phantom shares in a family business. Are there different structures? Of course they are, because if you think about it, obviously, I don't want to go with the whole IPO, and that's not what I mean. But if you think about the shareholding in a family business, and this, if you want to achieve continuity, be multi-generational, you got to think about it, as I mentioned earlier on, founder to sibling partnership to cousin consortium. It doesn't always flow that way, but it can. So what I mean by that is, that some family business on the call, it can be, you kind of, what they call is prune the tree. So maybe the founder started, he passed it on to one sibling, who then passed it on to one sibling. It's very rare. It's kind of, for somebody who maybe come from a farming background, this idea of the eldest son, that's that type of thing. And why does that happen? It's like, we see lots of disputes at farms, but it's trying to resolve that. And I think that's actually an incorrect thing, because it's saying, oh, siblings can't work together. That's nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. Right across the length and breadth of this country, we see thriving family businesses where you have siblings working together, but you have to work on it and you have to put the structures in place. So do we see different structures in a family business? Yeah, of course. Because you're going to be and I know there's many accountants and lawyers in this. We can have another webinar on that with regard to, if you have a company, you've got a holding company, and then the individual owners may have holding companies. And so even in regard to this country, with regard to inheritance, 65 big year for, regard to passing on wealth and inheritance tax in this country. So but that often is the easy piece, the forms, you get your accountant to sign up. That's okay. It takes work. I understand that. I don't belittle that. But the getting to that piece where there's a document ready, if it's a shareholders agreement or if it's a family constitution, which is not obviously legally binding, but getting to that juncture is a hugely, hugely time-consuming task.
Eric, thanks a million for your time today and for the insights. I'm going to share a screen with you now. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about a very exciting event that's happening in January here in the NCFB. As Eric has outlined, ownership family boards are important in sustaining family businesses across generations. So I'd just like to tell you take a few minutes now to actually go through our new executive education programme, which the NCFB have actually developed specifically for Irish family businesses. So as your family evolves across the generations, the needs of the family, the owners and the business will change. So to address these evolving needs and to meet your family's desire to become a multi-generational business, this programme will provide you as a family business leader with the knowledge, skills, to design and implement appropriate governance structures for your family business. We've gathered a leading Irish and international group of experts to deliver this course for you. The team will be led by Eric and Dr. Catherine Faherty. Catherine is an assistant professor here at DCU and has been with the NCFB since it started in 2013. Professor Finian Buckley is an associate professor of work and organisational psychology here in DCU, and he leads several DCU programmes focused on SME growth and scaling. Paul Hennessy is a non-executive director and advisor to a number of family businesses and private companies, and Paul was a partner in PwC Ireland for over 30 years. The most recent addition to this group is Professor Justin Craig. Justin is one of the world's most leading experts on family business. He's internationally recognised for his research in understanding the challenges and opportunities of entrepreneurial family businesses and their leaders. I'm sure you'll agree this is an outstanding lineup of experts, and they are ready and waiting to impart their knowledge to you in January. As well as academic experts, we will also be joined by very well-known Irish family business leaders. Tom Roach, Director and Chairman of NTR, whom Eric quoted from in his presentation, and Kevin O'Connor, Chairman of General Paints. Tom and Kevin will share their family business stories with you. Both Tom and Kevin are actually members of the NCFB Advisory Board and strong supporters of this programme. Just to give you an idea of the programme structure, the days are structured to provide you with an opportunity for active social learning, group discussion, skills practice, and this will be done through interactions with guest speakers and live virtual masterclasses. Attending this course will provide you with an understanding of the benefit and purpose of a family constitution, the relevance of a family employment policy, an overview of ownership governance policies, and the importance of the benefit of having a high-functioning board. You will also have the opportunity to develop a network with other Irish family businesses in the same situation as you. This course will run for 3 days between the 25th of January and the 1st of February 2021. And I would encourage you to join us in January to start your business's operation transformation by registering at familybusiness@dcu.ie. I would like now to wish you, your family and your teams a very happy, peaceful and safe Christmas and a very prosperous and hopefully COVID-free 2021. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.